Thank you for taking the time to visit Strongbow Exploration. I'm Richard Williams, CEO of the company, and I'm going to run you through our projects and the plans for the next couple of years as we progress our South Crofty project towards a production decision. Strongbow was restructured in 2015 and is now a member of the Osisko group of companies. Osisko Gold Royalties is our largest shareholder, owning approximately 31% of the issued shares within the company. And our focus is to look for advanced, high-quality strategic metals projects located in good jurisdictions. Management and directors with the company, our chairman, Grenville Thomas, was the founder of Strongbow and obviously very well known in Canadian mining circles. He's a member of the Canadian Mining Hall of Fame, and his former company, ABBA Resources, was successful in discovering what is now the Diavik Diamond Mine. Myself, I run the company. John Brzezinski represents Osisko Gold Royalties on the board. John has been with the company since its restructuring in 2015 and currently runs Osisko Mining, which is running the world's largest exploration project in Quebec on the Windfall gold property. Patrick Anderson is the CEO of Dalradian Resources. They are currently progressing the Carrigan-Alt gold project in Northern Ireland to a production decision. Ken Armstrong was the former CEO of Strongbow and sits on the board currently. And recently we've added Alexandra Drapak to the board of directors, and she joins from Osisko Mining and brings a background of experience in the environmental permitting and dealing with local communities as we advance projects towards a production decision. Ron Netlitsky, who has been a director for a number of years, has recently stepped down and he sits on our advisory board. Rounding out the management team, Zara Bolt, our Chief Financial Officer, was formerly CFO at Kaminak before they were acquired by Goldcorp. And prior to that, she was the CFO at Stornoway Diamond Corporation and was involved in the large capital funding to put the Renard Diamond project into production. In the UK, Owen Mahylop is our Chief Operating Officer. He's based in Cornwall and manages the day-to-day operations at our South Crofty project. From a corporate structure perspective, we currently have 76, almost 77 million shares issued. As mentioned earlier, Osisko is our largest shareholder, owning 31% of the issued capital. We're currently trading in the range of 20 cents, which gives us a market cap of around 16 million Canadian. A little bit of background to the company and how we got to our current position. Our focus, as mentioned earlier, is really to look at advanced projects in the strategic metals space with an initial focus on tin, tungsten, and we've also got a fairly advanced nickel project in northern Canada. We recently completed a transaction with our largest shareholder, Osisko, to sell them a 1.5% royalty on our South Crofty tin project. That provides funding for us to construct a water treatment plant, which we'll get into a bit more detail on later in this presentation. In 2016, we were successful in acquiring the rights to the South Crofty tin project in Cornwall. South Crofty is a mine. It's probably the most famous mine in Cornwall, and documented occurrences and production dating back to 1592. The mine was in production until 1998, surviving 13 years of very depressed tin prices, and it was the last tin mine to close in the UK. What's really attractive about the South Crofty tin project is it represents an opportunity to develop what could be Europe's only tin producer. And there's a large focus today on companies, especially end users, proving the provenance of the products that they use and to ensure that they are not coming from areas that finance conflict, exploit child labour, or negatively impact the surrounding environment. In fact, what we are proposing at South Crofty is beneficial to the surrounding environment. Currently, the mine is flooded and you have untreated mine water discharging into the local environment. We've been working with the Environment Agency in Cornwall to secure a new mine dewatering permit, and to do that we need to treat the water, so anything that we do at the project will have a positive environmental impact. Some background to South Crofty. Today we have a fully permitted high-grade tin project. It's located in what's called the Central Mining District of Cornwall. An area that has historic production in excess of 450,000 tonnes of tin metal, and the bulk of that coming from the South Crofty mine complex. The mine permission area covers approximately 1,500 hectares and includes 26 former producing mines. Existing infrastructure within the project that is still available for use includes 4 shafts that have a combined depth of almost 3 kilometers. And we'll be using one of those shafts, which is called the New Cook's Kitchen shaft, to initially dewater the mine and hopefully then use it in a production scenario. The advantage of South Crofty is that many of the aspects that you'd associate it with a development project are already mitigated. The geology is very well known. Some of the mineralized lodes are known to occur over strike lengths in excess of 4 kilometers and have been mined from surface to a depth of 1 kilometer. So geological continuity is very good, and on top of that, with almost 400 years of mining history, there's a very good knowledge of the metallurgical response of the ore and the ability to recover as much of the tin as possible. Since we've acquired the project in July 2016, we've published a new 43101 mineral resource estimate. We followed that with a PEA which was published in February 2017. And that shows an initial 8-year mine life with a pre-production capital cost in the order of 118 million US with an NPV of around 130 million US. That is using a $10 per ton tin price and a 5% discount rate. Our current plans are to advance this project to a production decision as quickly as possible, aligning with Osisko's accelerator model. Osisko has been very supportive in providing finance as and when needed. The initial focus is to dewater the mine and focus on what is known as the lower mine resource, which is tin only and averages around 1.8% tin. That equates to about 40 pounds in weight per ton of tin, and at today's prices, 1 ton of ore would equate to about 350 to 400 US dollars per ton. So on the back of the recent water discharge permit that we received from the Environment Agency, the next step for us is to construct a water treatment plant. That's where the Osisko Gold Royalty comes into play. That provides us with the financing to immediately move into construction of that water treatment plant and commence dewatering the mine. We believe that this is an opportune time to relook at this mine and also get exposed to what appears to be a growing deficit within the tin supply market. Independent analysts in the space are projecting a growing deficit of supply into the tin space over the next 4 to 5 years, which hopefully falls in line from a timing perspective to our plans to get this mine back into production. A little bit more background on the project itself. Previous operators that looked at the mine between 2001 and 2013 invested close to £30 million into the project and were successful in acquiring the land that will be used for a new process plant, and also were successful in getting the planning permission to build a new process plant. In 2013, a new mining license was issued. That is valid until 2071. So from our perspective, when we acquired the project, the one outstanding issue was the ability to dewater the mine, and we were successful in getting that water discharge permit in October this year. The other aspect that is very encouraging about the project is that we have very strong local community and government support to see the project go back into production. And I think that's highlighted by the collaborative effort that we've just been through with the local community and the Environment Agency to complete a water treatment trial between November and March this year, apply for a new water discharge permit, and to actually have that permit granted in October. So I think that really sends a positive signal that the local communities and local authorities are coming together in support of the project. Some more detail on the resource that we have currently. The 43101 resource that we published in April of last year has 2 components to it. There's an upper mine, which is a polymetallic copper, zinc and tin resource, which when you combine the values of the copper, zinc and tin equates to about half of the grade of what we see in what we call the lower mine resource, which is tin only. In the lower mine resource, we have an indicated mineral resource of around 1.65 million tons, grading 1.8% tin, and an inferred resource of 750,000 tons at around 1.9% tin. I think in addition to that, the attraction to this project is that we believe that the exploration potential is significant. If you look at the project itself from a mining history, the extent of what was mined was predominantly on the eastern half of the project, east of what's called the Great Cross-Coast Fault. And we believe that the structures that were mined on the east side of the structure extend westwards into the western half of the property and have yet to be explored. So very significant exploration upside. The PEA that we published is summarized here as well. We can look at the base case assumptions using a $10 per ton tin price and a 5% discount rate. Pre-tax NPV of around 166 million US, after-tax NPV around 130, with an internal rate of return of just over 23%. The payback at 3.8 years, initial mine life of 8 years, and an average life of mine cash cost of around 336 per pound of tin equivalent, which is a very attractive operating cost given that current tin prices are in the range of $9 to $9.50 a pound. The infrastructure that we've got in place for use on the project, mentioned earlier, a number of shafts that are preserved for future use. Williams shaft, Roskia shaft, NCK or the new Cook's Kitchen shaft number 3, and Robinson shaft. They're all shown on this map, outlined in the blue circles. The initial plan is to dewater the mine through the NCK shaft, which was the operating shaft that was still in production until 1998, and to access the existing resources and hopefully make a production decision to work from that shaft for the initial 8-year mine life outlined in the PEA. The longer term plan would be to look at using the Williams shaft, which is the deepest shaft in Cornwall. It's over 900 meters deep, close to 6 meters diameter, and if we are successful in outlining the exploration potential that we feel exists to the west of the Great Cross-Coast Fault, which you can see outlined as a dashed red line on this map, that shaft provides potential to increase production from underground, supplying the process plant. The process plant would be located within the center of the what's called the mine permission area, which is outlined in red on this map. We have a decline that was partially developed in the last decade that goes down to about 300 meters down dip. We would use that decline as a conveyance from the new Cook's Kitchen shaft up into the process plant. So the impact on the local urban environment would be minimal. We wouldn't have any trucks driving through town. All of the ore would be hoisted to a sub-level within new Cook's Kitchen shaft and transported via conveyor straight into the process plant. The other advantage we have from a permitting perspective is that historic operations have left something in the order of 8 to 10 million cubic meters of void space in the South Crofty mine complex. We would use that void space for redepositing tailings in the form of paste backfill back underground, so we don't have to permit a tailings pond in this urban environment. The next slide here just outlines again what we believe is the upside potential on the project. So it's important to point out that in its 400-year history, South Crofty probably never had an 8-year mine life and kept mining what was in front of them. So very similar to some of the large lode gold deposits, gold belts that you would see in Timmins or Western Australia. We have 47 known mineralized lodes within the project area. Some of those were never mined to the extent of what was known as mineralized. And if we calculate potential tonnage and extensions to some of those lodes, you can see the table on the right side of this slide outlines the tonnage potential, somewhere in the order of 17 to 21 million tons additional potential on the project. That would add significantly to the mine life and is what is attractive to groups like Osisko Gold Royalties from the perspective of a long mine life and a long paying royalty. From a grade comparison with other tin projects globally, you can see in the left-hand table on this slide that Strongbow sits at number 3 with an average grade of around 1.8% tin. Number 1 on the list, Alpha Min Resources, Bissi project in the Congo, is a very high grade deposit that's currently being developed to production. Minsur's San Rafael mine in Peru is currently in production, as is Metals X's Renison Bell mine in Tasmania. The other projects on this table are lower grade, typically larger, closer to surface, open pittable deposits that require larger upfront pre-production costs, and clearly where Strongbow sits on this table fits nicely into other projects that are currently in production around the world. Moving on to the next phase for the project, we completed the water treatment trials in March this year. Where we benefit is that the water itself is not acid generated, it's neutral with a pH of around 6.5, but there are suspended solids and dissolved metals in the water. We successfully completed a water treatment trial over a 4-month period earlier this year, and on the back of that applied to the Environment Agency for a water discharge permit that would allow us to discharge and treat up to 25,000 cubic meters of water per day to dewater the mine. The dewatering process is expected to take 18 to 24 months, and the water treatment plant is budgeted to cost around £4.5 million. The proceeds from the royalty sale to Osisko will cover the construction cost, and we're already commencing with that process. We've engaged a group called Nomenka Engineering in Cornwall to manage the construction, and we will use Siltbuster, the group that designed the water treatment process, to provide guidance and overall process management. From this point to production, we can just look at where we've gone from in the last year and where we are currently and what the next steps are for the company and the project. In the last year, we've successfully acquired the project from administration. We've published a new 43-101 resource. We discharged some surface planning conditions that were associated with the surface planning permission and obviously impacted the mine permit. That's now in good standing until 2071. We published a PEA which had a very positive outcome. We completed the water treatment trials in March, applied for the discharge permit in May this year, and in October received that final permit to dewater the mine. On the back of that, we completed the Osisko royalty agreement, and so the next steps are to move forward with the construction of the water treatment plant and to dewater the mine. Over the next 2 years, we expect to gain access to the upper levels of the mine. The PEA outlines a recommendation to complete in the order of 26,000 meters of drilling to convert some of the inferred resources to resource as part of the completion of a feasibility study. So the feasibility study will run parallel to the mine dewatering exercise, and at that point we'll hopefully be in a position to make a production decision. I'll talk a little bit about the merits of investing in tin and what the current uses are of tin. I think a lot of people not familiar with the tin market still have the perception that tin is used in tin cans and for tin roofs. It's very much a modern metal. Close to 50% of total consumption of tin is used as lead-free solder in circuit boards, so anything electronic within the house would have some level of tin in it. And we've seen that reflected through the last 18 months, where we've seen the tin price increase from around $13,000 per tonne in January 2016, getting close to $22,000 per tonne towards the end of last year. That's been reinforced by significant drawdown and reductions in production from the main producing areas in the world. China, Peru, Indonesia, Malaysia have all seen reductions in supply from production in the last couple of years, and that's been coupled by almost complete sell-off of the US strategic reserve of tin, to the point where tin supplies on the visible market are at their lowest levels for decades. There's also a lot of research currently going into the use of tin in various forms of batteries. Lead-acid batteries, which are used to power electric bicycles, have seen very strong growth in the last couple of years, and we expect that to continue. There's also a push from end users and investors to ensure that some of the large end users ensure that the tin that they are using are free of potential conflict. We've touched on that earlier, and I think this South Crofty project would fit very nicely into that opportunity. So the investment case for the company, I think it's very rare that you get into an opportunity where you've got a mine that operated for hundreds of years, it's high grade, It's in a good jurisdiction and is fully permitted to advance to a production decision. The permit that we've got currently allows mining to 2071. We've got planning permission to build the plant. We've also got additional mineral rights to conduct exploration throughout Cornwall, and that would be part of the process over the next couple of years is to assess what we have, what the potential is, and look potentially to bring in joint venture partners to assist in that process. We believe that we're entering into a very favourable tin market environment with a growing deficit of supply, and we expect hopefully to be in a position to make a production decision and capitalise on this growing tin price. The lower mine resource at 1.8% tin ranks as one of the highest resource grades for a tin project globally, and again I think that puts us into a very competitive position. We have a very strong management team, and if you look at the board of directors, a wealth of experience and expertise in discovery, building mines and returning value to shareholders. So we expect to leverage this opportunity during this strong tin market in a proven mining area, in a safe and familiar jurisdiction, and move towards a production decision as quickly as possible. Thank you for listening in to this presentation, and we invite you to visit the website, and if you have interest, please download the PDF of the presentation, which has additional slides in the appendix to provide more detail, and or feel free to contact the company. Thank you.